Hello and welcome to TLL and Friends. Tonight you've got Rose along with Joey Lynch, also known as Joey, also known as Lynchy, also known as Big J. I don't know. We don't know what name he has. We have not decided that yet, so he does need a TLL name. So all those people out there that are watching, you know, all 7 of you, please tell us what should Joey's name be. But welcome Joey.
Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for having me. We've got this beautiful backdrop, if you can see that properly, of the beautiful Sydney skyline at the moment. We've decided to take TLL to new heights. And yeah, that's the end of the show, guys. Oh, he's done. He's maxed out. No, it is really good to have you here. Joey, if you don't know him, he does work with the Daily Football Show and he does other things. Goes to a lot of Melbourne games. What do you do?
Well, I am based in Melbourne, so that does certainly help me get to the Melbourne games. But
there you go.
Yes, work with the Daily Football Show, done some work with Melbourne City, done some work with the New Daily, the A, pretty much anybody that will pay me.
Yeah.
So if you want words written about football, hit me up and I'll pay me, and I'll write them for you.
What if they don't pay you? What do you do then?
Start off.
So you have to pay him. He's not like us. He doesn't just like rock up for like free tickets or something, you know. He just...
I'm already accredited.
Yeah, exactly. He's fine. Alright, so we're going to have a little chat about the round that was. Recap the A-League round. Now, it all did start off in Adelaide with Adelaide versus Brisbane. If you were under a rock for that match, which a lot of people were, I saw so many tweets at the end of the night going, so I didn't see the game. Did I miss much? And it's like, oh man, like all the Fox Sports missed it because they were all at their Christmas party and we're all going, oh man. It was a great game. I'm just going to refer to my cheat sheets here because honestly, who can really remember what happened on the weekend? It's a Tuesday. Adelaide won 2-1. I can't believe I don't even remember that. 2-1. We had Halloran with 2 beautiful goals. Literally in my notes it says beautiful. And Enrique had a little tap in. Literally.
Slippery fish.
The slippery fish slid right into there. The Adelaide fans weren't very happy with that, obviously. But what we really need to talk about is there was a little bit of argy-bargy.
Bit of biff.
Yeah.
Bit of biff in the City of Churches.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty much we had an eye-gouging situation. It's really the only way to describe it, where it all kicked off and then the arms are going everywhere and 2 of Regan's fingers, looks like 2 or 3, not 100% sure on the angle, went into Stefan Mork's eyes. And what did you think of that? Good move? Bad move?
It's
not very smart?
It's not a very smart move at all. I know Regan has come out since and apologised for the incident, but that's a situation that you can't have on a football field. The face has to be sacrosanct, it needs to be protected, and you can't allow for eye gouging. I know, perhaps the argument might be, Malk, he's the type of player that, he likes to get in there, a bit of niggle, get under players' skin, provoke Regan, but at the same time, you need to keep your cool. You can't go near the face. Deserved red card, deserved to get sent off for that incident, so I don't think there can be any complaints from anybody that he did see red. Yeah, it's not on in Australian football.
No.
Well, it's not on in any sport, really, just gouge the face. They don't even allow that. They didn't even allow that in pancration back in ancient Greece, I don't think so.
Well, what if his nails were long, nailed to the eye? It's just, it could have had really, really bad consequences.
Yeah, long-term consequences to the side. I know, like I said, it's Adelaide fans, maybe could say he was provoked, but no, face, you cannot go near the face. Stay away from it.
And if there was long-time consequences, we all know Regan would... he
would have felt awful about it. It was obviously, I doubt, maybe he does have a history of going in hard and, one might describe him as a bit of a panel beater, but even he would recognise that eye gouging is beyond that line of acceptability and being able to explain away. So I do believe he has come out on social media and posted an apology, which is good of him. So, just hopefully reinforcing that this is the kind of thing that we can't see, well, anywhere, not the least on a football field. You can't start gouging at people's faces. It's not on.
Exactly. And he knows that. We all know that. I've seen a lot of criticism online about the whole situation, especially towards the Adelaide fans. I don't think I know one Adelaide fan who condones eye gouging. Nobody deserves to be eye gouged. It's just, lost my notes. It's just, it's not pretty. We don't need it. So moving on, and then as the game went on a little bit further down the line, another incident happens, again with Stephen Mork, where Craig Goodwin's butt knocks him out unconscious, is really the only way that I can put it.
Was it his keister or more the fact that the back of his head bounced off the turf after that initial contact?
Well, look, it was probably the fact that his head hit the, I don't know.
It's a trauma to the head.
Trauma to the head. Whether it was caused by Goodwin's butt or not, that is still up for debate. I'm going to go with Goodwin's butt just because, why not?
The amount of junk in Goodwin's trunk has not yet been determined.
No, exactly. Still yet to be determined. So Mork
Maybe he can twerk for us.
maybe I should ask him that next time on TLL TV. Hey, Craig Goodwin, can you twerk for us? I'm sure that's going to go down great. If I know Craig Goodwin, he's never going to talk to us again. So obviously Mork goes down unconscious. It was really difficult to watch on TV because it was just flat, an absolutely flat body. Obviously all the players amongst that time weren't quite aware that he was unconscious because how do you know? It all happens in a split second. Someone's on the ground. I mean, players are always on the ground. They all come in. Credit to SAS who noticed immediately. I mean, obviously Stephen Mork used to be their teammate, used to play for Adelaide United. He's a mate of theirs. They know him well. SAS trying to clear his airways, doing the proper things that even I wouldn't know what to do. So
well, it's basically just don't move him.
Yeah.
Which is why it was unfortunate that Jordan Elsey did try to grab him, but once again we have seen in the aftermath that Jordan Elsey, as you said, former teammate, has apologised.
And
on social media.
You can actually see, I've watched this replay a lot of times, you can see he goes to do it, and then Issa is like, stop, don't do it, and he's like, whoa. Yeah, like, Elsie just sort of goes, alright, okay, I'm aware of this, I know, and the second Elsie knows, I mean, I'm the same. If I'm hot-headed, if I didn't know someone was unconscious, and, you go to continue your fight that you're having, you don't know, but the second you know...
Wow. Whether one needs to begin a fight to begin with is another question entirely, but yes, I doubt Elsie was deliberately attempting to manhandle a man he knew was unconscious with a potential neck injury. That would be an incredibly long bow to draw, but at the same time, cock up on his part, trying to instigate a fight with somebody after the play was over. Well done for the protection, of course, but once again, it was just... The aftermath of it was really the story, really. Kurtz and Aloisi on the sideline, and a bit of this, bit of that, bit of Scarface, bit of hey.
The F-bombs were dropped. It was great. It was great as a viewer to watch the coaches.
No, it actually is because we've got those sideline mics, and it's a bit of colour for the game. It's a bit of I know kids in cars and the kids in front of the telly or whatever. Just maybe a bit of bad words, but. Maybe people could do a bit of parenting and put it on mute or something, but I like it.
It was 9 p.m. by this point.
I like it. It's a bit of colour, it adds a bit of personality to the game. It shows that the coaches aren't robots.
It's a passion.
It's a bit of passion, it's a bit of colour, we want the game to grow and evolve, and I like that. It gives us a bit of an identity, so... Yeah. I liked it. Obviously, the situation as a whole, I would have much rather avoided it. I would have much rather, Malky never went unconscious, and that situation was avoided. But the situation on the pitch and watching Zappa's bemused, trying to figure out.
Zappa's is just sort of on the side there. He's listening to the production. He's got his microphone, and he was just enjoying. He's in the frame, just enjoying the whole moment secretly.
I always do enjoy watching when you can, especially when games when you maybe can't see it on the camera, but watching down from the press box, and coaches will go to the Fox sideline reporter and just yell, was that a penalty or something like that before they decide to get mad or not, and like Zappa's is sitting there just like can't figure out what to do. So not the easiest job in the world, but no, once again it was a disappointing incident. Malk, perhaps one of the very few players that can claimed to have been red carded whilst unconscious. He was being taken off the field for what he believed was treatment, unknowing that he'd actually been sent off. I think Fox Sports got footage of him actually being told by the trainer, no, mate, you can't come back on. You've actually been red carded. So he had a bit of a tanty in the... Not tanty, that's the demeaning word. No, he got a bit aggro in the tunnel, which is fine, you know.
Oh, that Adelaide United tunnel has been through the wars. Don't worry. That, you know,
you employ
Ross
Aloisi, and that's what you get. No, like I said, very entertaining final portion of the game. Maybe could have used it, maybe going up to half time, bit of light, but you know, it's the A-League.
What do you prefer? Do you think, what's more entertaining to you? Red carded while unconscious, or red carded before entering the field of play?
Red carded before the field of play, because when somebody's unconscious, there's always that tinge of fear for their safety that prevents you from enjoying it to the degree that watching someone get red carded before they can actually see the field of play.
And that reference, for those who haven't seen the game,
don't say it because I'm not yet, so I'd like to keep it that way.
Okay, so look it up. Just Google it. Have a look. I'm sure it'll come up.
I'm not in the club. And I like to keep it that way.
All right. Okay. Now we're gonna go on to the next game with my handy dandy notes. The next game was Central Coast Mariners against Sydney FC. Sydney FC won 2-1 in the end, which if you sat down and watched that game, they really shouldn't have won that game.
Yeah, not the most convincing performances, but any coach will tell you that it's a long season and that teams that want to win premierships, given that we do have to win premierships versus championships, which is another conversation entirely, but teams that want to finish first at the end of the season, you don't dominate every game. And in fact, more often than not in these first place seasons, there will be times when you have to grind out and scrap and claw for results, and often those games don't come against the top teams. It comes against the teams which you're not suspecting, against the likes of, in the A-League, against the likes of the Mariners and the Knicks, and perhaps this season the Wanderers, where you have to scratch and claw and get results against these poor teams. So Sydney FC, at the end of the day, the record books will show 3 points for Sydney FC, important 3 points for Sydney FC to bounce back after the Big Blue defeat. Moving forward, I mean, the Mariners can maybe... It doesn't look like it's going to be the best season for the Mariners, but maybe they can take some solace from the fact that they pushed Sydney FC for a while. And
they can still score, you know, even with Matt Simon up front, even if they don't have McCormack. I don't know what's going on there with him.
Well, I might just say, yes, McCormack does look the same lethal player that he was with Melbourne City last season. It looks like... Excellent. Yeah, he's doesn't look like perhaps that he's got the motivation there. Last season, perhaps at Melbourne City, he was playing, trying to impress to get back into the Villa first team, perhaps, because he's on loan, of course, from Aston Villa. Maybe this season he's back out in the A-League on loan again. He's realised, I don't really have much of a future at Aston Villa. Well, I'm on something like £40,000 a week. I've got sent out to Gosford. I might as well enjoy myself.
He's a star. Like, let's be honest. At the Mariners,
he's a star. Yes, back in Britain, he's not.
Oh no, we're not going to go into that kind of words.
Yeah, he's still on £40,000 a week. Let's just say he looks like he's been in a very good paddock. But Matt Simon, no, I think Matt Simon obviously looks like he loves being in Gosford. Of course, there were those news reports that Matt Simon is a member of the DILF Club. In Gosford, the Dad I'd Like to Friend Club.
Oh yeah, that was great. That's the last person I thought would be in the DILF Club, let's be honest. Wow. But each to their own. No, maybe not the last, but...
Let's put it this way, Matt Simon is not a standout player. He's not even a standout A-League player, but Matt Simon, off the field, I have a lot of respect for the work that Matt Simon does off the field. From all accounts, both at Sydney FC and the Mariners, Matt Simon is always the first man to volunteer, to go out to schools, to go out to charity events, to go out to community events. He seems to love playing in Gosford, he just seems to love that he's a professional footballer.
And he's approachable, he's, you know, he's the man of the fans, fans love him, he's a cult hero to the fans.
Yeah, put it this way.
In a weird way.
He's a meme. But put it this way, he's not he's not the best player, but he gives it his all. And
there's something about him that fans love, and
maybe for a team like the Mariners. But let's face it, there were maybe some good signs at the beginning of the year, bringing in McCormack, bringing in Orr, bringing in Aidan O'Neill. Maybe they could sneak into 6th. Let's face it, that's not going to happen.
Not the way they're playing.
Yeah, they look like they're going to be in the wooden spoon race again. So that's what I think the Mariners can hang their hats on. That they've got players, like Matt Simon, that doesn't matter how bad the game is going, are going to run their guts out and they're going to bleed for that shirt.
Yeah. Which is amazing because you don't see it in all players.
Yeah.
So we had, I'm just trying to find which minute, because Simon did score actually. Matt Simon did score early on in the 16th minute against his old team, Sydney FC, and it was so good. It was so good to watch him score against Sydney FC because obviously everyone just goes, you didn't want him.
Well, I think he parted on pretty good ways, pretty good terms.
He did. It was all good. So everything was fine. And he was a gentleman. He didn't do the crazy celebration or anything. It was good. It was just entertaining that, of course, Matt Simon's going to score. And then obviously Lafondro had a penalty.
Got his sausage roll.
Had the Master Foods sauce there, put on the sausage roll. It was all good.
Joel Frucci of the Daily Football Show loves referencing the sausage roll.
I know the amount of hot dogs emojis that the Daily Football Show does, because obviously there's no sausage roll emoji every single time. They love their hot dog emoji.
And Lafondra gets around it on Instagram. And
yeah, he does.
Well. Yeah.
He enjoys it. But what my favourite was the O'Neill. I don't even know. I want to use a very, very bad explicit word just there. O'Neill scored. I'm just going to say, let's just go with a banger. It was going to be, thunder, and then a word followed by it.
Thunderclap? Thunderbolt? Thunder Runt?
It rhymes with that. No, O'Neill just scored this beauty. Absolute beauty.
He seems to enjoy scoring from outside the box, does he?
He does. If you didn't hear that at home, that was a...
Penetrates from long range.
We're just not gonna. It's just gonna. Just keep going. Keep going with that one. No, it was just an absolute excellent goal that I really enjoyed. I think everyone got off their seats when he scored that goal, and it was just such. At times the game was good. At times the game was slow. They were hot. It was kickoff was at 5:30 on a hot Saturday afternoon. It was smart of Sydney FC to just slow down a little bit and not work too hard, and then he scores his screamer. The Hawaiian shirts go mad. Obviously, they're in the Cove because if you're unaware, if you're in the Cove, if you're a Sydney FC fan and you go to a Mariners away, it's Hawaiian Shirt Day. Don't actually know the origin of that. I know that exists. I'm not deep within the Sydney FC fan group to know the origin of Hawaiian shirts, but it's what you do. So they were all having a party, and they got to drive down the motorway, highway, whatever it is, with 3 points.
Up the highway?
No, drive back home. 3 points. They drove back home to go sip on their lattes with their 3 points.
Lattes are a Melbourne thing.
They still exist in Sydney.
Yeah, they're not good.
No, let's not. We could just really open up something there that we're not going to.
Yeah, but Melbourne would win, so feel free.
Anyway, Adelaide's got pretty good coffee. It's full of Italians there.
Pity there's nobody there to try it.
So the next game, Melbourne Victory versus the Wanderers at Marvel Stadium. They were, because they were expecting a very high turnout. It was not.
I think it's more Melbourne Victory have a very good lease agreement with Marvel Stadium, so it's actually.
Them less?
In fact, I think they make a profit on their Marvel Stadium games, which is why they hold them. They've got a very sweetheart deal with Marvel Stadium. Which is perhaps why you don't see the seats brought in, because that would eat into the profits. I've spoken to some people around Victory in the past that if they're not going to get more than 30,000 people, which is Amy Park's capacity, why would they want to move it from Amy Park? But they do it because they make more money at Marvel Stadium. It's not so much that they're expecting bigger crowds. It's just pretty. That's my understanding of it.
And that's fair enough then. So Victory.
That's why they're a very well-run club, because they make money.
Exactly. Very smart. Victory won 4-0. Victory played excellent. They played excellent in the first half, and then I got to admit, in the second half, they just completely parked the bus. And I did tweet about this, how much I despise that they parked the bus, because then we had to watch the Wanderers play, and it was very, very hard to watch. It was just very painful.
Yes, yes. For those watching in, I am currently staying in an apartment in Sydney because I am here with Canteen, the Australian organisation for young people living with cancer, and I've been put up in the same apartment as a number of other young people living with cancer. So
we now have a live audience.
Yeah, so they have just walked in the apartment. One of them is desperate to get on camera at some point, so
we might just have to.
Yeah, if a certain individual named Shasada pops his head in at some point and says hello, don't be surprised.
We're all about the fans. You know, the fans have never watched a show before. We're all about them.
Yes.
Doesn't matter what kind of personality you are.
Maybe they are the ubiquitous casual fan that the FFA has been chasing for.
Do they have a family of 4 though? You know, do they enjoy music at corner when you have corners?
One of them.
Or when you're lying unconscious on the floor. Anyway, I'm not unconscious. Anyway, we'll get to that one soon. But we're on victory for now. So Wanderers played like crap. Which meant the second half was crap to watch because the Wanderers played like crap. But Victory put on an absolute masterclass. They were an absolute pleasure to watch, especially Honda. I really can't say much more because there's been nothing but positive things said about this game. But it was just great football. It was so good to watch.
Well, of course, I think now the question as to how Keisuke Honda would be approaching his stint in the A-League has been relatively well answered, that he is treating it. Well, I like to think he's treating it seriously. Perhaps he's treating it seriously, or perhaps he's just so good he doesn't even need to treat it seriously to dominate. But he's currently, ripping the A-League to parts. And I think one of the biggest things I'm taking away from that game is not only is Keisuke Honda ripping the league to parts, but Ola Toivonen starting his second game now. He really looks as though there were questions with Kevin Muscat's new system in the first weeks, that new diamonds and the 2 up front. Of course, he was forced into playing Kenny Atu up front, Jai Ingham, and next to Costa Barbarousis. But we can see now that with Ola Toivonen in that side, what he brings to them. Because Ola Toivonen is not the type of striker that he's got. And he even said this to the press when we talked to him last week before the game. He's admitted he's not a 20 to 25 goal striker. What Ola, he's going to bang in perhaps 10 to maybe 15, maybe even get close to 20, given that it is the A-League and he is an absolutely top-class striker. He scored in the World Cup. But what Ola Toivonen is going to do is he is going to hold the ball up. He has a knowledge of where he needs to be on the park, that he's going to create space and he's going to create opportunities for other Victory players to move into to get the goals. So he's going to feed off, he's going to hold the ball up for them, he's going to lay the ball off. It's going to be really exciting to see as they grow as a unit now. Ola Toivonen, he's only had 2 starts. They can get better, Victory, which is perhaps one of the scarier things. Raul Bania, that was his first game back after injury.
And he scored, I believe.
Yes, he got his first ever A-League goal. Jimmy Troisi wasn't playing.
Now, I know that he was ill for the match. He probably had what I had, because that will knock you out. It's just a cold. Guys, it's just a cold. The way I made it sound, it was like it's just a cold. Anyway, what do you think of? Does James Troisi, does he fit back in?
I think he does. I think he's very much one of Muskie's favourites, and I think you saw at the beginning of the season when he had that diamond available to him that it was normally Carl Valeri who made way, and the big questions it seems to be for Muskie isn't so much who starts. It does Jimmy Troisi starts. It seems to be, is this a Raul Bania game or a Carl Valeri game as the holding player in that diamond. So I think Troisi will come back into the side. You've got to also bear in mind that Troisi is on marquee wages. The Victory, he is one of their marquee players, so there is that pressure to play him, to justify that. So I think he will come back into the side, and I think he also will benefit from playing with Toivonen, because Toivonen will create space for him to run into and get going. So perhaps, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not expecting to see him in the Asian Cup squad or anything, but perhaps he can go some way to justifying those marquee wages, or at least Victory fans and the Victory brass would be hoping that he does, because he certainly didn't justify them last year.
No, he didn't.
Well, he wasn't on them last year. He is this year, and but he just certainly didn't justify the pay upgrade last season. So Victory would be hoping for better things from him. But you know, playing in a midfield with Honda, with Antonis, with Toivonen, maybe.
Surely you can only get better when you're surrounded by people who are that great.
Well, in theory.
In theory.
Yes.
Who knows? But the Wanderers, though, that match, they excuse me, they were terrible. The defending was terrible. Everything about it was terrible. Babel even said, you know, they played like boys, they didn't play like men.
I have liked Babel's approach to this. He's not taking any prisoners. He's being honest with it, which is a good thing, which is perhaps what the Wanderers needs, and perhaps, you know, this is going to be a multi-year project with Babel, because I mean, you had earlier in the off-season, you had a situation where the Wanderers signed a bevy of players for Gombau, and then they proceeded to sack Gombau. So it's...
Well, it's like Adelaide United with Marco Kurtz, you know. First year, they came fifth. They're like, okay. You got to let them get used to it. And then second season, he's doing amazing things now.
I think Babel definitely will need more time. This looks... I don't think the Wanderers, unless something magical happens, are going to be able to turn this around. Maybe
this season.
It's the A-League. Over half the teams make finals. So perhaps they could slide into sixth position on the table. But I wouldn't be expecting the Wanderers to do anything this season, but it's a multi-year project for Babel, of course. He's had an introduction of fire with VARs and send-offs and spotless stadium turfs and all of that. Moving into their new stadium next year, another system under Babel.
That's what they're playing towards. You can't have the first year at your brand new amazing stadium playing against Leeds United, mind you. Are they Leeds United? That didn't sound right when I said that.
Leeds United.
They are Leeds. Okay, just making sure. Just covering all my, you know. There we go. There it is. But you know, you don't want big teams like that to come, and you don't want to play well. But you can use big teams, bigger than Mariners.
We're a Carlisle United type. I can't talk.
You'd hope that next season is better in his second season, but just accept
it. One of, if not the best academies in the countries as well, the likes of Costa Grazos, which you've got the T-shirt.
No Grazos, no party.
Abraham Majok, who I'm really glad to see that he's been starting. Of course, he did have that unfortunate bang off the face incident in his first start where perhaps he could have scored. But no, it's been a situation where they're going to get better. They've got a lot of academy players that they can potentially bring in to get better. But maybe a bit of a rider for the season. You know, I imagine they'll get better as the season goes on, as they familiarise themselves with Babel's system, and perhaps he's able to, you know, just gets more time with them on the track and they can buy in a bit more. But disappointing, you know, that the Wanderers maybe don't get that immediate boost from Babel. But Victory were fantastic, the Wanderers not so much. But don't despair, Wanderers fans.
Don't despair.
There's light at the end of the tunnel.
There is light at the end of the tunnel. It's just a really long tunnel. That's all. You'll get there. So then we move on. I feel like there's a lot of games. It's only five games around. It just feels like we just go on forever. We then had our Wellington Phoenix versus Perth Glory. The distance derby, also known as, because if you're a fan of the A-League, you have more derbies than you own underwear, because it's the A-League. So Wellington Phoenix played at home, and Joey's just going to be antisocial, and you know, look at his phone. His phone's just lighting up at the moment. All I can hear is just
because somebody's knocking on the door because they don't know that I'm recording in here. This is just grassroots things. Would you like to go answer the door? I reckon we're going to pause here and we're going to come back for take 2. So just go grab a packet of chips. Okay, thank you for that. That was also known as halftime to to go to answer a door. Welcome to Grassroots Media here at the Ladies League.
But no, we're talking about Wellington Phoenix against Perth Glory, the distance derby. So, I had a mind blank there. Actually, I forgot what happened. I lost my train of thought now.
It was a draw.
Totally forgot. Oh my gosh, it was a draw, wasn't it? It was a draw. So, Krishna became all-time goal scorer for the Wellington Phoenix, which was absolutely excellent.
The
Good on him.
Fijian phenom.
I really enjoyed that goal, mainly because he went over and celebrated to the Perth Glory fans. And it was hilarious because the looks on their face. They're just, I swear one of them was holding a beer and I was just staring at him like, just get out of my face. Like, they just didn't want to have a bar of it. So it was pretty entertaining. But no, it was an enjoyable game. The Knicks really actually brought out a really enjoyable game. I think they've brought out a lot of enjoyable games this season, to be completely honest.
No, it's Roots. I think Roots has been doing a fantastic job with him. It's probably overdue that he got gig coaching. Not only Roots, but Roots, of course, did serve an apprenticeship in the NPL with Sydney United, and he's one of these NPL coaches who have deserved to go for quite a while. And you think of Johnny Anastasiadis, the work that he does with the Bentley Greens is massively overdue for a shot in the A-League as well. But they've played, like, Roots knows that they're not the best team in the A-League. I mean, he said as much after the Melbourne City game that they're going to try to do some things, but sometimes it's just not going to come off. But no, I'm enjoying what he's doing with the Knicks. He's given it a red hot go, and he's creating a spirit amongst them. He's pretty much, I mean, he came out after this game and said that they all know that there is a significant portion of people that want the Knicks to fail.
Yeah, there is.
So, and there's not a lot that maybe they can do on the field to arrest that one way or another, because there are, of course, crowds and that come into it. And unfortunately, one does have to note that the crowd at the game was a very disappointing one. I understand that I think inclement weather and scheduling aspects of it, which didn't help that. But that will just play into the argument that surrounds the Wellington Phoenix. I know I did an interview with Heather Reid for the Daily Football Show where she, very much of her own opinion, not that of the FFA board, was, opined upon, the future of the Knicks. So there are those questions, but Roods looks to be using that as a motivational tool for them. And I like to see that. And I like to see that he's bringing them together and he's trying to accomplish some things. So, yeah, I think they're not a good side, but I think Roods is a good coach and they are capable. They're not going to be an embarrassment this season, as they showed against the high-flying Perth Glory.
Yeah, exactly. What do you think of the Wellington Phoenix being in the league? What's your opinion on that?
I think I'm not a massive I'm not an aggressive Knicks out type of person. But their presence in the league does raise significant questions for me. Number one, they're a team from whose host nation isn't even in Asia. When we do have a question about pathways for Australian footballers to compete in professional football, there is a New Zealand team as one of the sides. It's just they don't appear to. I understand there are arguments about what it does for New Zealand football, but one could also counter is that the FFA's job to be worrying about the state of New Zealand football, especially given that Australia is in Asia and New Zealand isn't. Surely perhaps it's the FFA's best interest for maybe Indonesian football to be stronger rather than New Zealand football and that sort of thing. There is of course the emotional pull of just the Knicks. There's always been New Zealand representation. Personally, like I said, at the moment, until we get the A-League gets its house sorted out and we can sort out problems in the Australian market and expansion, I'm not going to be banging the drum for Knicks out and all that sort of stuff. But I wouldn't lose any sleep if the FFA announced a plan to remove the Wellington Phoenix from the competition and replace them with another Australian side, especially one of these maybe the stronger A-League bidders, because we are in a situation where there are some very high quality bids. It's a case of where I don't have any I don't harbour any malcontent towards the Wellington Phoenix, but at the same time it's a New Zealand team in an Australian league.
It's difficult for our players and their players too. Just imagine being a Knicks player and travelling overseas every, I don't know, second week.
Yeah,
seems quite difficult.
I think we are in a situation now where there are so many strong bidders trying to get in. You've got bids from all around the country. I mean, we've got a situation where, I understand that bid for the current round of extension wasn't a strong one, but if the FFA is willing to have a team drawing, very small crowds in New Zealand, why aren't they willing to have a team? Why aren't they instead willing to have a team drawing very small crowds in Tasmania and subsidise that? It's those sort of questions. Ideally, you could have both. You could have a situation where Tasmania has a team, New Zealand has a team, these other expansion sides come in and we have a big 16, 18 team league. But if it's going to be a situation where me as an Australian-based journalist has to choose between having an Australian side in the A-League or having a New Zealand-based side in the A-League, I am going to lean towards having an Australian side in the A-League just because innately to me it makes more sense. Because, New Zealand football don't harbour any, ill feelings towards them, but it's not the job of the FFA to strengthen New Zealand football. That's the job of the New Zealand Football Federation. And if it's not the job of the A-League clubs to support New Zealand's, it's not the job of the A-League to support New Zealand football. I would much rather, especially in a situation where there is definite strength for Australian football, but there are also definite areas where they need to be worked on. I'd rather we would focus all resources possible went towards that rather than supporting New Zealand football. Don't get me wrong, if I'm not like an advocate of kicking the Knicks out tomorrow and just having them go into a tailspin, and because that's a piece of shithousery. But a transition towards an A-League that didn't feature the Knicks would be my long-term goal.
Fair enough. I think that's a very, very educated answer. It's a good answer.
It's not like I haven't given a lot of thought to it just because there's been so much else going on in Congress. That's just my gut feeling. That it's an Australian league. And I know there are Welsh teams in the English Premier League, but if we can get the game in Australia to be as strong as the game is in England, then we can support the team in New Zealand. It's very
hard to compare the A-League to European leagues, as people love to do. It's very different.
But maybe there's another comparison to Canadian teams in the MLS, but I'm not in a big rush to adopt the MLS model, if we're being honest.
Fair enough. Back to the game though. So there was a very controversial VAR. We haven't had to say VAR tonight, which has been really, really good. But there was a controversial VAR decision made, which Rudin was. Rudin was not happy at all. He made that very, very clear in his post-match press conference, and I wouldn't blame him at all. So pretty much the situation that was Ryan Lowry, I'm going to make sure I get the right Lowry, is here. Ryan, who plays for Wellington Phoenix, his brother plays for Perth Glory, if you've heard the Lowry name before. He went in studs up, technically, on Economidis. But Economidis kind of came into Lowry and his studs, and it all kind of happened. Play went on, and then let's say, I think it was like a minute later, VAR stopped, made the match stop, say no, go back. We're reviewing a red card decision, because you can actually stop the game if they're trying to review a red card decision. If it's outside of the box, that's fine, as long as it's in relation to a red card. Went back, they deemed that to be a red card. And then, obviously, Lowry, he was only on for like 5 minutes, 4 or 5 minutes, the poor guy. It was a substitute, came on, then got kicked off. In my eyes, it looked like Eco went into the studs. In my eyes, it didn't really look like a red card.
I think the biggest story, it doesn't matter what my opinion is, I think the story is that, it's come out that Greg O'Rourke, the head of the A-League, came out and said that they got the decision wrong, but in the aftermath of O'Rourke's comments, Lowry's suspension was upheld.
Was that by the match review panel?
By the match review panel, yeah.
So
it's
Monday it's incorrect, Tuesday is correct.
It's a farce. It's the massive problem in this. I would, VAR, it's one of these unfortunate situations where I've come to accept VAR not because I think it's a good idea. In fact, I think it's an awful thing. I'd much rather we just had it. I'd much rather we just have goal line technology and that's it.
I agree.
Unfortunately, I have come to accept VAR because the way the powers that be, there are just too many people now in world football that are in favour of it. I mean, it's been brought in the Champions League. It's being brought in the Premier League. It's here to stay. There are just too many people at high levels invested in it now.
Yeah.
And it's people at FIFA, people at UEFA, just who set the tone for football. People at the AFC who are behind it. It will be in use at the Asian Cup from I think the round of 16 onwards. And it was heavily endorsed in the statement that the AFC put out when that was announced. So
it's here.
It's here to stay, yeah. And these are organisations like the AFC, FIFA, UEFA that don't bow in the face of grassroots pressure, and they're
not going to listen to a bunch of people on soccer Twitter who's hashtagged VAR out. They don't really care.
Yeah, and
to be honest,
they will be able to exert significant pressure on the FFA. So it's a situation where VAR is here to stay, and we just need a situation where we need to figure. We just need consistency.
Yeah.
So we just need consistency.
Yeah.
We need not only consistency in decision making, we need consistency in messaging. So we don't have situations like O'Rourke's statement followed by the suspension being upheld. We need damage control. Basically, we need to make the best of what is a very bad situation, because we can't. The way the league is going at the moment, with the amount of VAR cock-ups that have been happening early in the season, it might not happen in the grand final again, but there will be a finals game, or there will be a game like the regular season where this happens again, and that could cost somebody a season. It could cost somebody a place in the Asian Champions League.
This one costs Wellington Phoenix the game. I strongly believe. I mean, obviously, Rudin believes so, but by watching the game, I believe so. I
mean, if you're in a situation where we can't get VAR right, a decision goes against a team, and they theoretically miss out on an Asian Champions League slot because of that. That is a significant amount of table.
Yes.
A significant amount of money potentially left off the table because the VAR got something wrong, and that's something that we can't really afford to have.
That's very serious.
Yeah, it could be the difference between, aside from saying like Melbourne City making the finals versus not making the finals. It could be something like that. So we need to get it right sooner rather than later. And even if it isn't right, we need to get it consistent. So players, so coaches can adapt. Because even if, coaches and players will tell you, even if they don't agree with what a rule is, if they have certainty on what the rule is, they can work around that. But at the moment, you've got problems where players and coaches aren't sure what's going on, so they're unable to properly work around it. That's what we need to do. Unfortunately, it looks like VAR is here to stay. I wish it wasn't. I wish it was just goal line tech, but unfortunately, it's here to stay. So we need to make the bet. We need consistency. Yeah, that's what it is. Unfortunately, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's fair enough. We'll move on to the next game. So Melbourne City.
Jets.
This is the Jets because they're the last team. It's difficult working full time and then working TLL because
you're talking about that. Like, we went to Melbourne and we couldn't get a result, and it was massively disappointing. But in the end,
you do a great Joyce. He's been around Joyce long enough to.
That was Ernie. This is Ernie Merrick.
Oh, anyway, oh my gosh! I thought that was a Joyce.
No, Joyce is from. This is like Ernie Merrick. Like Joyce is. Like, I can't do Joyce, but like this is definitely Ernie Merrick.
If anyone else thought that was Joyce, then please join my club. Having blonde moments, left, right, centre.
You're not blonde though.
I was going to say, can I still say that?
I'm not really understanding what you mean by the question.
Ernie.
I'm just doing my own numeric. I'm very monotone. I'm like not showing emotion. So like, I don't like the media. You guys are bastards.
This is the Ernie Merrick of TLL now. Apparently we've We've got Ernie Merrick. So, unfortunately, you lost, Ernie. You lost 3-0. Ernie?
I'm going to stop that.
You're not Ernie? Okay, he's not Ernie anymore. So, Melbourne City won 3-0 with the big controversial leaving out Bruno Fornaroli thing, which we are about to touch on. But just quickly, we'll talk about the game itself, which Melbourne City did play a very good game. Braddon was my favourite goal.
Oh, I wouldn't say a very good game.
Well, they played a
scored
better
some
game.
thunderbolts, but
They played a better game than the Jets.
yes.
Melbourne City played a better game than they have in recent times, is what I should be saying, because Melbourne City are normally quite boring to watch, but I actually found it quite good to watch. I'm not going to say entirely entertaining, but I enjoyed the match that I watched, and unfortunately, for a while, I haven't felt that way about Melbourne City. I thought it was good. I'm not going to go too extravagant on my descriptions here, but no, yeah, Braddon scored an absolute beauty, which was excellent, and a lot of people don't like Braddon out there. I don't know why. I think he rubs people up the wrong way, but hey, you've got to appreciate a good goal when you see it. Yeah, so they won 3-0. Now, the controversial part is that Bruno Fornaroli wasn't playing. He wasn't on the bench. He was in the stands drinking his matcha something, with the metal straws and stuff. The camera went excuse me. The camera went over to him like 8 or 9 times, and which was then another controversy that the camera was going over to Bruno Fornaroli, but they weren't showing it in the stadium, which I don't know what the reason is behind that. I do know that they do this often, maybe not often, but they do this at matches where you don't always see what's on Fox Sports.
The line from City is that Melbourne, frequently Fox Sports were flicking to Bruno during open play.
Yeah.
And at Amy Park, they don't move away from the game during open play. So if they're cutting to Bruno whilst the ball is in play, of course, Amy Park, at Melbourne City, Amy Park, they don't take the Fox Sports feed as it is. They just take the action on the field and
they
show
just
that.
Continued on. So it had absolutely nothing to do.
I wasn't at the game, of course, so I can't attest to whether every single time Fox Sports cut to Bruno.
It was I believe towards the end they started showing him, because maybe all the controversy, like online, people started looking into it, so they started to show it towards the end. Well, what I found interesting, I feel like Fox Sports, I shouldn't say Fox Sports as a whole, the commentary team, it's like they created a little bit of a drama by this, because they kept stating it. They kept saying, but they're showing Fornaroli, but Fornaroli's not coming up at the stadium. They kind of created this, and then everyone at home thought, oh my gosh, this is what's happening. And it created a little drama that didn't have to be a drama at all.
Yeah, it's not the real story.
It's not what's happening. So yeah, Bruno Fornaroli. Now, obviously, Joey is Melbourne based, so you have a lot of
fucking City.
You know a lot of Melbourne info. What's going on with Bruno? Do you know what's happening?
Well, the problem is, I think that nobody really knows exactly what's happening except people in the inner sanctum, and the people in the inner sanctum aren't speaking. We have had reports that that skin folds are an issue, that he's perhaps been in too good of a panic. But what happened was last week, Melbourne City staged a roundtable briefing for, I think there were 5 journalists in the room, myself, Michael Lynch from The Age, Ben Mackay from AAP, Dave Davidovic from the Herald Sun on the phone, and Jonathan Howcroft from The Guardian on the phone. And Warren basically for about 20-25 minutes just walked us through about how, without mentioning Bruno by name, whenever he could, but walked us through how at Melbourne City what he is trying to do, and what the Melbourne City players have done is they've come together at the beginning of the season, and they got together and they explained to each other why they were what their whys for this season, so why they were trying to accomplish some of these things. Warren didn't elaborate exactly on them because they are very personal issues. There was a lot of trust involved in this. The players were making themselves vulnerable by revealing deep personal things about why they were doing this, their motivations. And they've come together and all done that. And so they've got the whys, and then they made an agreement to each other. They were all going to go hard in training. They were going to do it for each other. There were going to be certain standards that they were going to meet. They were going to make a commitment to each other. And reading between ends, are all going to try to be the best players they can be every single week, every single training session. Reading between the lines, easy to infer that Bruno has not been living, in Joyce's eyes, has not been living up to the commitments that he feels the rest of the playing group has been. So Fornaroli is obviously in Joyce's eyes, he's not been training hard enough. The skin folds would come into that, because if he's not been training hard enough, if he's not been looking after his diet, if he's not been doing his conditioning, working in the gym hard, his skin folds are going to be higher, and he's not making that commitment. So that is the line from Warren Joyce, is that he's got this playing group that's this is based upon what journos reading between the lines about what he did tell us, that, and this is just my reading of it. Maybe the other journos in the room have a different reading of it, but my reading of it is that Joyce feels as though he's got a set of expectations himself, which he believes is very important. He has a culture that he wants to see happen, which you can probably see, given that some of the more boisterous personalities have disappeared in the past. In Joyce's eyes, he's got to make a decision that Bruno Fornaroli is not living up to the expectations that the group has. He's got everybody else that apparently are, or if they haven't, such as in the case of Luke Bratton, who was dropped, Scott Jamieson, who didn't immediately come back into the side after injury, but apparently must have gone hard in training and earned their way back in. So he's got a player that isn't living up to those expectations versus a group that is, and he feels as though, in terms to maintain the culture that he wants to create, and also he's got to keep Bruno out. And also, in my eyes, I think he might see, if he was to play Bruno, he feels as though Bruno hasn't been when Bruno hasn't been living up to that commitment, it's a betrayal of the rest of the playing group who are putting in the work. What sort of, Warren Joyce is thinking, what message am I sending to Lockie Wales, Riley McGreen, Nathaniel Atkinson, Connor Metcalf, Rami Najjarine, these young players?
Why does Fornaroli get to slack off?
Why does Bruno... The counter-argument to that is, of course, that why does Bruno Fornaroli get to slack off? Because he's Bruno Fornaroli. And there are certain times when of course, Archie Thompson, when he was at Melbourne Victory, there were, of course, certain rules for Archie Thompson versus other players. You'll see coaches around the world in every different sport, star players get, at some clubs, star players get different rules. Obviously, no, though, not at Melbourne City. We saw, if Warren Joyce is willing to stare down and see Tim Cahill out of town, he's willing to stare down and see anybody coming out of town. And obviously, he's got the backing of Melbourne City, because it's easy to get lost. I'm just serving as... I feel as though I'm kind of serving as the devil's advocate here, because the predominant line has been, Joyce out, rah, 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 rah. So, from the other side of it, Joyce steered Melbourne City last year to their highest ever A-League finish. They finished third. Melbourne City had never finished that high before. If Melbourne Victory hadn't pulled an absolute miracle, they'd be playing in Asia this year. Melbourne City's defence last year, which was Warren Joyce's primary remit to come in and fix, conceded the least amount of goals in their history last year. So he has made some progress with them. Unfortunately, this season, the problem, I think, isn't that Bruno hasn't been playing, because, I think what's been lost in a lot of the conversations is that Bruno Fornaroli is a 31-year-old coming off catastrophic ankle surgery. Is Bruno Fornaroli
out most of last season?
Is Bruno Fornaroli the same player that we know, especially if he's not training hard? One would think that if you are a 31-year-old coming off catastrophic ankle surgery, you need to train harder than your peers to get back to that level, purely because you're not that you've got the miles, the miles in the wheels now. The body maybe isn't as sprightly as it once was. But that's another question entirely. But my problem with Melbourne City this year has been just how dour and how blunt they were in attack. I think most people would agree that City's two worst performances this year came against Sydney FC and the Brisbane Roar. In both those games, Melbourne City had, I think, around almost 65% of possession. I must admit, I haven't checked the possession stats for the game on the weekends, but coming into that game, they had only not one possession in a single contest. That was in round one. against Melbourne Victory when, lo and behold, one of the goals they scored was probably their best goal of the season as a team. Riley McGree's goal, and lo and behold, it comes on the counter when they don't have the ball. The problem I had with Melbourne City is that before this weekend, 2 of their goals had come from Richie Delat, who was a right back who had scored, I think, 12 goals in his career prior to that. He's not a reliable means going forward. One of them was a ball that had ping-ponged around the box against the Mariners that a better team would have cleared. Another one was a piece of Bruno Fornaroli magic. He was immediately dropped.
So Sunday night was really
even on
good
Sunday,
things to come.
Perhaps.
In a way.
Perhaps.
Because it was better than others.
Maybe Newcastle. I don't think Newcastle are as good as they were last season. They held fast during the off season, whereas a lot of teams got better. Maybe there was a case of catching lightning in a bottle last season. But I think my problem, I was getting back to Melbourne City. My problem with Melbourne City was they had a lot of possession, and they don't play in a style that was able to scythe through opposition. Like you saw it against Sydney FC. Sydney FC recognised that, all right, Melbourne City are going to have the ball. Who gives a toss? They're not capable of playing through us. And we saw that. Melbourne City were incapable of playing through a highly organised and compact defence, which highly compact and organised isn't a word that really is used to describe the Jets' defence. So, have City turned a corner? I'm waiting to be convinced, because that's what I think the problem is. I don't think the problem with City is Bruno Fornaroli. I think the problem with City is that them going forward. Is that what is going to be required for them to A, win games, and B, a lot has been made of their status as an incubator of talent. They're a farm system, and they do have an incredibly good academy. Don't get me. It's probably, with apologies to the Wanderers watching, it's the best academy in the country. They've got more young Socceroos in it than anybody else. They've got more Joeys in it than anybody else. The problem is, it's all well and good to accumulate that talent at an academy level, but it's another thing to get those boys into an A-League level and then get them playing in a manner which is going to attract overseas interest. Because everybody will point to Daniel Arzani. Watching the way that Melbourne City play, Daniel Arzani might have been an exception. It might have just been a case where Daniel Arzani was such a transcendent talent that he was able to shine despite the fact that he was playing in a dour system. So you've got a situation where now you've got players like Rami Nazarene, Connor Metcalf, Nathaniel Atkinson currently with the first team, potentially the likes of Dylan Piraeus, Gianluca Iannucci, Anthony Lesiotis, these players in the academy coming through. Are they going to be put in a position, if Melbourne City is indeed an academy just designed to sell players off? We can add Riley McGree and Lachlan Wales to this as well. Are these young lads going to be put in a position where A, are they going to play, and B, are they going to play are they going to be allowed to play in a manner that demonstrates their skills and actually makes them an attractive proposition to overseas teams? Because it's all well and good, playing 90 minutes week in and week out in the A-League, but if you're just playing in a dour possession-based system, knocking a ball around an opposition's, penalty area, no scout's going to look at that and start licking their lips because, all right, what's he good at? All right, you can play 90 minutes and knock a ball around the penalty area. Why am I going to sign him when there's some kid back home in Europe that can do that plus a whole bunch more? Why would I take a risk on that? The crossroads Melbourne City's academy finds itself in, I think, there's no better demonstration of that than Denny Jonro. Denny Jonro last season played 20 minutes for Melbourne City, and he only played 20 minutes because in a warm-up of a game against Sydney FC where they went on to lose 4-0, Osama Malik pulled up lame and he was brought in as an injury replacement. Didn't see the field the rest of the season. Denny Jonro, who was, we chatted to him on the Daily Football Show, and he basically came out and said he couldn't really click with Warren Joyce. The system just wasn't there. So he has gone out, found himself a loan opportunity with Pex Voller in the Netherlands and Jonathan van Schip, the former Melbourne City coach, and Michael Van Kalnis now, another former City coach who's an assistant there. And he is playing regular football in the Eredivisie. I would challenge anybody watching this to tell me that a kid that is capable of playing regular minutes in the Dutch Eredivisie isn't capable of playing first-team football in the A-League.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the situation that is
Crazy.
arising. It's not only that he's playing first-team football in the A-League, he's
Yeah.
got called up to 2 of Graham Arnold's Socceroos games. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think he was ever going to sniff the field for the Socceroos, but Graham Arnold had obviously identified him as
Yeah.
a potential talent. He'd probably identified him as a potential future Socceroo when he was coach of Sydney FC.
Yeah.
And now that he's the boss of the Socceroos, he's bringing him into camp to familiarise himself with that environment. Denny Jonro should have been playing in the A-League last season. I know I've done work with Melbourne City covering their academy, so I'm slightly biased. I've watched a lot of their academy, so, declaring my biases. Denny Jonro should have been starting in the A-League last season. That's my opinion. The fact that he wasn't, and that he wasn't able to demonstrate, and even if he was playing, he wouldn't have been able to demonstrate the skills that have him starting in the Eredivisie, that for me is the concern. We had Dylan Piraeus for City, who was on trial with Genoa during the off-season for the Serie A. If he does play for City, is he going to be able to demonstrate those talents that was able to see him trial with a Serie A team, or is he just going to become another A-League journeyman? He's got the talent to be something more. Whether he's allowed to demonstrate that is another issue. I feel like I've been talking for half an hour straight.
Yeah, he has been, but it's fine. But just quickly on, still with the Melbourne City, the fans, the Melburnians, as they call themselves, they were silent for the first 23 minutes of the game, just to express, obviously, that they want Bruno Fornaroli to be starting. So the fans have voiced their opinion. Whether Joyce cares or not is completely up to Joyce. But yeah, so the fans have made themselves clear. All the jokes came out, obviously, saying, oh, what, all 12 people are going to be silent. Yeah. Anyway, all the jokes came out. But they did that, and then they did an excellent job at the 23rd minute of just an absolute roar in the stadium. So they have told Joyce what they want, and now the ball's in his court. So now we just wait to hear what happens. There's plenty, the agents are all going crazy now with stories left, right, centre of who's going to come in, who's going to go out, and so now it's just going to be rumour central. I honestly wouldn't believe anything until I read it in either the Daily Football Show or any other reputable source.
Oh, the Age and the Herald Sun do have their moments.
Yeah, everyone has their moments. Because
as does Ben McKay, The Guardian, and Jonathan Aircraft.
There's certain journalists out there that are on the ball, but a lot of agents are now throwing things around. So just, it's become a big Melbourne City drama.
Yeah, I think the big thing, the problem with... I think Bruno is a symptom, is not the disease. I think the symptom for Melbourne City is the lack of identity.
Yeah.
Take away Bruno Fornaroli, what is Melbourne City?
Yeah.
So that's the problem. If Joyce can keep winning, if they can keep winning, winning cures all ills. But the problem, I think, for City is identity. If Bruno, they need something to hang their house on. Whether that's embracing the fact that they're a member of Melbourne, the City Football Club and Going Bling FC, whether it's nailing down a geographical area, whether it's just something to really hang their hat on. I think Bruno is more a symptom of the cause, and I think the big thing that will determine this in the future really is you need to keep an eye on the players. If the players keep running their guts out for Joyce week in and week out, we know he still has the support of the playing group.
Yeah.
If they start to fade in games, they look like they don't care, we know there are serious issues. I think that's going to determine how Joyce goes the rest of the season. We need to keep an eye on exactly what the players are doing. Not when they're winning, when they're losing.
Yeah.
When they're down 1-0 in the 80th minute, are they still sprinting hard? If they're sprinting hard, they're buying into what Warren's selling in terms of commitment, and Warren is probably in a good place. If they're not, he's obviously lost the locker room, and there are serious questions about his job.
Alright, so that wraps up A-League. Now, just quickly, because we are talking forever, which we do every single time on TLL and Friends, because our friends of TLL love to chat, and that's why they're here, to have a chat, but we always go on for far too long. Just quickly though, I want to just talk about the W League match that you were at on Saturday night. I hope I say this right. Just takes me. It's fine. It's totally fine.
It's the Rudies that interrupted us before.
I believe it's Campanale is how I say her name properly, a previous Adelaide City girl. I recognised her name from Adelaide City. And now with Adelaide United, she came off the bench and she scored an absolute beauty.
Yeah, it was annoying as hell. Because I'd written my story.
It happened at, 90 plus 7 or something?
And I was ready to hit submit and submit my story, and I had to rewrite the entire thing.
She was a journalist's worst nightmare, but a fan's dream. How was that match, though? Was that a good match? Or was it just the goal that was good? Was it just the highlights?
First half was a bit dour.
Yeah.
Melbourne City obviously tried to get a lot going with Jasmine Spencer.
Yeah.
Down the left, I think about 50% of their attacks came through her. It really opened up in the second half, I think, especially when the goal came. But it's Adelaide United are a very odd case this year. They've only conceded one goal in the W League, but I'll admit I saw them against Victory and City now. I wouldn't have called them the better side in either of those games.
Yeah.
I know they beat the Wanderers, but unfortunately it looks like the Wanderers this year aren't very good. So there's the question of... But, I mean, that's almost half... They've played almost half the W League now, and they've only conceded one goal. So... And it's a short season. So, you don't really know with Adelaide at this point. I think the game against Perth is going to be a very interesting... is their defence for real? Because there's probably not... There are very few better tests for a defence than a certain... Sam Kerr.
Now, Sam Kerr, did she, if you're unaware, the Ballon d'Or was this morning. Did she go to that?
I don't think she did.
She didn't go. No. So she was nominated, and our girl came 5th, which was so exciting. We'll just give us a second and we'll get back to that. But yeah, Adelaide United have got Perth Glory at home on Thursday night for Thursday football on Fox Sports. So make sure you're watching.
Thursday night football.
Hashtag Thursday night football.
You're the dub.
And we've got our girl, Cass Trippietti, will be there for TLL. So if you do see Cassandra, make sure you stop by and say hi and, give her a hug because, she likes to meet the fans.
With her consent.
With her consent. She won't mind.
So get the okay from you first.
We're all about love around here. Last time I was offering hugs to Wanderers fans for myself. This time I'm telling all the Adelaide fans to go and give Cass a hug. It's just all about love. But no, the Ballon d'Or.
People. Don't expect a hug from me.
Yeah, I know. I hugged him and he didn't like it at all. But I don't normally hug people, but I have to hug all my guests because it's a nice thing to do. Anyway. So this morning's Ballon d'Or, I'm sure everyone has heard. So yeah, Sam Kerr came 5th for this is the inaugural women's. The women have never been nominated, never had an opportunity. So this was history no matter what. And I believe, if I can remember the caption right, Sam Kerr did have an excellent caption on her Instagram post last night, which was, even if I don't win, we still win. It's a win. It's a win for women everywhere. The fact that this exists, this is happening, it's one step closer to big things in women's football, so it's just exciting. And I loved that attitude from Sam, because at the end of the day, she didn't win, but she would still feel like she won. I know that she would feel like that, which is still amazing. But I still can't get over how amazing it is that she came 5th. A lot of people, there's a couple of people still say she was robbed and thought she
doesn't play
won.
in Europe. That's the problem. It's a media voted award. She doesn't play in front of the vast majority of the media representatives.
Things that you've got to consider when you go play for Perth Glory. I reckon she only signed for Perth Glory so she could spend all the time with her dog. If you've seen her Instagram story, she just loves her dog and it's just absolutely adorable. I love her dog too. If you can have her dog on TLL TV, that'd be really good, Sam, if you're watching. But no, so Ada, I'm going to call her Ada, the one who won, because I'm not Lucy Zelich, so I can't say her last name. Can you say it right? No, Ada, we're going with. So she won, which was, kudos to her. I didn't watch it live, obviously. I'm just going by the highlights and articles and stuff. And then Martin Solveig, is it egg or air? We need Lucy on the show. The DJ who was the MC for the night. I don't know why DJ was the MC of a football or was presenting this for a football thing anyway. He asked her if she can twerk when she receives it, and pretty much she said, to do a twerk. And the look she gave him, I think, was all of us at that point. But obviously, you know, social media has blown up. I love that everyone's on the same page on this. I'm just so grateful that I personally haven't seen anything pro this, which is, I would think my head would explode if I did. I just don't know in his right mind did he believe that when you are receiving an award for the amazing achievements you've done in your career, and some guy is talking to you, like, and mind you, this means a lot for women's football. This is a very big thing for women's football as a whole. All of women's football were walking up there with her. And some guy is talking to you like you're a little hussy in his film clip who wants to strip down for cash. And you know what? If you strip down for cash, that is totally fine. That is up to you, and that is your job, and good on you. But that is not what this honey was doing. And I don't know what I would do if someone said that to me, receiving an award for my achievements in my career. It actually, I think I can feel my blood boiling again. Like, that actually pisses me off to my absolute core because of how hard women work, even women in the industry. It works, like, reporters, journalists, work so damn hard. And he pretty much, I know it's a joke, you know, he's mucking around, he's trying to have a laugh, but it's not the American MTV Awards. Like, she's not going to get up there and start shaking her ass. Like, that's not what this is. Like, yeah?
Yeah, you've absolutely said it right. I mean,
I could go on all night.
Yeah, like, the outpouring on social media has been vicious against him, which is good. Yeah, I mean, and especially, but like you said, this was a monumental. I don't really feel as though I need to add any more. You've said everything. This is a major issue for women. Myself as a male journalist, I'm not going to add anything. It's not my. Yeah, you've said everything. I don't need to add anything.
I feel like I could do, you know, a side TLL TV on just me losing my mind on it, but I won't because I'm sure everyone is in the same boat, and even all the men as well. All the men feel.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. But I don't
just
need to add my voice. In fact, yeah, this is the time when we need to empower women to speak out about this, and so
I don't want to talk any more about it because I want to say good on her. Keep doing you. She is watching. Sam Kerr's watching, I'm sure she is. You definitely keep doing you. No, the girls are doing great things, and this was the nomination in a whole, the award in a whole, regardless of the controversy, is just one step closer in a really good direction. And then, so one more topic we just want to talk about just before we head to our viewer questions, which we always have. One more thing, the Caltech Socceroos and Westfield Matildas today.
Luka Modric won the Ballon d'Or for the men.
Yeah, he did, but this is TLL TV. You'll read that everywhere. Everyone knows that.
Ante Jukic for Opta Sport wrote a fantastic article about that, so go and find that.
I am yet to read that. I will read it after this. I've seen rave reviews from him.
Hashtag Modric better.
Stating that it's the best work he's ever done. So, I mean, if that's not a review, you know, he gave himself a 5-star review. So, we've definitely got to read that if you're interested in what the Croats up to. But yeah, so there was a new logo launched today, which is identical to the FFA logo, which is the FFA logo.
Stacey's new hat, Malibu Stacey's new hat.
Malibu Stacey got a new hat, and everyone was invited to view Malibu Stacey's new hat. So
it's the same as the FFA's logo.
Yeah, it's the same as the FFA logo. It happened. It got done. Good on them. I thought it already was done. I even hesitated when I went to say whose logo it was because I thought they were all. But it's great. It's great though that all the states are now having their logos with their colours, and you know every federation is now, we all match and we're modern. But I like the logo, the little ball thing going on. It's a nice logo. Just, what a waste of time today. Anyway, I don't think we really need to keep talking about that, do we?
I mean, logos are important. It's the way Well, it's the way that we're presented to the world, but yeah, I mean, it's not iconic in the same way that one might see the Three Lions or the Spanish logo or the Brazilian logo, so knowing Australian football, there'll be another coup in 12 months and we'll get a new logo, but that's another conversation for another time.
So, we've got some viewer questions. I have seen a whole bunch more on Twitter, some that we should read and some that we shouldn't. But no, our girl, like I said before, Cass Trippieri, she did just comment through saying, can Adelaide beat Perth this week after being in such a rich vein of form? We didn't really give our tips for that game, but do you...
Well, I think they can. I mean, they've shown that they're capable of getting results, and they've been a very surprise packet. I mean, I'm certainly not going to tip them. If I was to give a tip, I would tip the Perth Glory, because I think Perth Glory are a better side.
You don't know.
Yeah, you don't know. They're capable of doing it. I wouldn't expect them to do it. I would expect Perth to do the job, but then again, I would have expected Melbourne City to do the job.
Yeah.
So they're capable of doing it. I wouldn't think so. I mean, yeah, I would. Unlikely, but still could happen. That's what I would say.
Good old Josh Shepherd from Around the Block has asked me if he goes, how much better of a guest is Joey over Turner? So Turner was on TLL TV last week, who also is on Around the Block. So clearly, a couple of little larrikins over there. I'm not going to choose favourites and guests. That's, you know what, this isn't what's going to be happening, Josh. So we're going to move along. We do have a question from Nick Meredith. Has tweeted through, do you think the A-League would survive without the support of Fox Sports?
No.
No, I agree.
In its current format, no. That's probably going to be one of the biggest questions for the new league's working group, which will likely see the A-League go independent at some point and run the A-League, the W League and the Y League go independent at some point and run itself. But as it currently stands... how it previously has been and how it currently stands, you say no? Yeah, Fox Sports effectively bankroll football in this country.
But he's obviously referring to the comment that I made today on the Ladies League of, in the future, we would like to see that move away from Fox Sports, or not necessarily move away from Fox Sports, have it accessible for everybody, or cheaper accessibility.
Fox Sports have done massive things for the game.
They have done massive things.
The A-League would not have been able to get off the grounds without the support of Fox Sports. The big issue has to be in the future that the A-League, when the rights come back up, the A-League needs to be an attractive enough proposition to secure enough money in the rights agreement to keep going, to fund itself.
Well, and the last contract, they didn't even get the amount that they were requesting. Yeah,
so if Fox Sports aren't a charity, so obviously they've gotten something out of this arrangement, but yes, in its current state, the A-League can't survive without Fox Sports. If Fox Sports were to take their money tomorrow, unfortunately there are legal contracts in there, so they can't.
Yes.
But yes, that's one of the biggest challenges in football at the moment, is improving the products on the field, off the field, marketing, all of this sort of stuff.
At the end of the day, I mean, the reason why I say this is, I mean, I know I alone pay $54 a month purely to watch the A-League and W League, which I still get annoyed when. That's why I get annoyed when.
Get on KO Sports, their new streaming thing.
They're not. It's not on TV yet. I need it on the TV because I need to be able to use my laptop at the same time.
Just plug the HDMI into your laptop.
I'm yet to get a HDMI cord. Anyway, we'll get into this later. But yeah, KO Sports is good because now it's $25. So I think I'm gonna, in the near future, definitely look into KO. Which makes it a lot better. But anyway, we could be here all day. The Goat Gatsby, who's a regular viewer, asked, what do you think of the rebrand of Socceroos Matildas, and how long until Westfield pull their sponsorship now the Lowy family aren't in charge of the FFA anymore?
Nobody knows. That's one of the biggest questions. In the past, we've seen the Lowy family with Hakoa leaving the NSL, that they are... That was Frank taking his ball and going home. Maybe they want to do that again. Maybe one of the good things about, because at the moment there is no team more universally liked than the Matildas, maybe it's just simply good business sense to have your brands. Yeah. We could see there's a big Westfield sign over there. Yeah. Maybe it's just good business sense that even if they were burned, the Lowies recognise the value of having Westfield associated with the Matildas. Maybe they're spiteful and they take it away. We don't know. That's one of the biggest question marks surrounding. There are, I think, 4 major sponsors coming due next year, so that's going to be one of the biggest issues for this new board going forward.
Now, Ryan's Rovers sent in a question, and it made me realise I completely forgot we forgot to talk about the Just A-League things of the Central Coast Mariners game.
The streaker.
Yes, there was a handicapped pitch invader. When we say handicapped, he was on crutches. So a man in crutches and a moon boot was able to get into the keeper's area without any security having any idea. And he was standing there going, yeah! And he got a little... it did get... Like, at first it was funny, and then it got really...
he got a little aggro
really bad.
So yeah, it's probably not a good idea to glorify that.
No, we don't want to glorify it because the way he...
carried on.
We saw the video that, the way he carried on afterwards was absolutely disgusting.
Bit of a prat.
But the initial part was hilarious because it's like, how did somebody who just get into the field of play? Like, that's crazy. So Rise Rovers has asked, who is better at their jobs, A-League refs or Gosford Stadium security?
They're both fine professionals just doing their jobs to the best of their ability.
Rise Rovers also asked, should Terry and Tonus be in the Asian Cup squad?
At present, no. If you can keep this up for an extended period of time, perhaps. He's just running into an unfortunate situation where perhaps the midfield is the Socceroos' strongest position in terms of depth, but if he's able to continue this form for the entire season, perhaps. But got to bear in mind, there's only been 5 games in the A-League, so there's not a lot of football has been played yet. So it's very important to not be blinded by recency bias.
Robski New goes by. After Grossos, he's obviously a Wanderers supporter. Which emerging youth league talent are you most excited about seeing progress to the A-League?
I realise we've been going for a long time, so I can give a very long answer to this, so I'll keep it short. Just a quiet little rant. If they are allowed to get to the A-League and there are opportunities for them, which is the big thing for me, because there aren't enough opportunities, so that's got to be the biggest thing. It's annoying when you see these young, talented kids just unable to break in. It's why we need more teams. It's why potentially a second division in the future is so important, so we can increase these opportunities for young kids. But in current academies, there's a few that I'm keeping my eye on. I'm very excited about Nick Sete. I think he's Nicholas Sete from Melbourne Victory. They did lose 4-1 to Melbourne City over the weekend in the Y League, but he set up Yazid Said for the victory goal. He skinned about 4 or 5 Melbourne City defenders before putting in a beautiful cross. He's a scholarship player of the victory. Very excited about him. I've gone through a lot of City's academy players already. One I'm very excited about, very young kid, Gianluca Iannucci. He's maybe perhaps in the Rami Najeri, Daniel Arzani mould. Very silky, very talented on the ball, very smooth. He's confident. Very excited to see what he develops into. Louis Dorigo, Adelaide United, last year's Y League Player of the Year. Very excited to see what he does. Macklin Freet, goalkeeper, Brisbane Roar. Heard good things about him. Likewise, James Delianov, goalkeeper at Melbourne City. Very excited to see him get his chance in the near future.
I think you just said like a whole starting 11 right there.
I named 2 goalkeepers, so I hope not. But
as I said that, I was like, I have no idea the positions of these guys. But you said nearly a whole team.
Yeah,
right there. Pro Rel for Oz. All right, so we have.
I'm actually in favour of it, but I'm not going to. That's like a very long conversation. So.
Yeah, I had to cut you off there. Michael Turner statement. Tell him I love him. And finally,
there's your gift for this episode.
Stephen Filiomini asked, does Pantene Pro V hair shampoo turn your hair a fluff ball too?
I don't use Pantene.
What do you use?
I don't know. Whenever's in the shower at the time.
Are you going to take home the shampoo and conditioner from here?
From the apartment?
Yeah.
Probably not.
What? Do you take the toilet paper? Like Ross from Friends, when you just take whatever you possibly can.
No.
Just checking. Everyone's got, different styles in their hotels. I'm not going to say what my style is because it's definitely Ross from Friends.
I don't even know what shampoo I do use. I normally just grab whatever's on special.
Tune into TLL TV for exclusives. What does Joey Lynch put in his hair? That is a wrap from us because I reckon we've gone on for like an hour and a half. But it's good. Hopefully you at home all really enjoyed watching this. Hope you've all put your feet up and have enjoyed the analysis, or just, talking shit about the game, pretty much, that we like to do here on TLL and Friends. So TLL and Friends will be back next week. We will confirm in time whether if it's Monday or Tuesday evening, but one of the two. We are also doing some really exciting things this week, so make sure you are, as per normal, all over our social medias. We're always at games, but on Sunday we're going to do some really exciting things. A bunch of us girls are all getting together and we're having a really exciting day, so stay on our social media on Sunday because we'll do some fun things, trust me on that one. And yeah, so that wraps it up here with Joey, so thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
You came to Sydney purely for this reason. It's exactly what's happened here. TLL is a really big thing. You just wait. Anyway, I've been Rose, this has been Joey, and thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.